Yo, what's going on, math class? It's your teacher, Mr. Lopez, coming at you with another chapter 11 lesson. This time we're going to be talking about the multiplication of integers. Multiplication of integers. All right, so get ready, settle in for a short lesson. Hopefully this is a really easy one, and hopefully I can make this as clear and easy as possible so that everybody gets all of these right on their homework. All right, here are the rules for multiplying integers. All right, so these are my rules that I not like I invented them, but I think this is the easiest way to come up with it with our answers. And there are two main rules, two things that I want you guys to do. Now, number one, I want to just point out that instead of adding or subtracting, which a lot of people think is a little bit more difficult than multiplying, I think the rules for multiplying integers are pretty simple. Rule number one, count the number of negative signs. Whenever you're multiplying or, hint for the future, dividing, when it comes to negative signs, if you have an even amount of negative signs, our answer will be positive. And if we have an odd amount of negative signs, our whole answer will be negative. And this is true for whenever you multiply or divide. We'll talk about division next class. But today, focusing on multiplication, this rule is 100% accurate whenever we are multiplying. It is not the same rule as adding or subtracting. So a lot of people think this is a little bit easier rule to follow. After you count the number of even or odd negative signs, we can go ahead and multiply the numbers, and that would give us our answer. Let's go ahead and jump into a few practice problems that might help us with this. Multiply the following problems, and notice at the top of the slide, I went ahead and I wrote even is a positive answer, and odd amount of negative signs is a negative answer. So I wrote this at the top of my page. I think this is very helpful for you at the top of your homework page because you're supposed to write these things down in your notebook still. I think it's very helpful if you start by writing this and you refer to it whenever you need to. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this answer right here. Negative 4 times 6. How many negative signs do I have? I have one negative sign. That's an odd amount, so the whole answer is negative. Then all I do is multiply 4 times 6 is 24. And that's my answer. Next one, let's look at, there we go. All right, next one, let's go ahead and look at part B. Part B, we can go ahead and say, well, how many negative signs do we have? We have one negative sign, so the whole answer is going to be negative. And 3 times 12 is 36. And that's our answer, negative 36. So all we're doing is counting how many negative signs we have. If we have an odd amount, the whole thing's negative. If we have an even amount, the whole thing is positive. Let's look at skill check number 1. All right. Number 1, how many negative signs do we have? I'm going to go ahead and start by circling. I have one negative sign, so the whole answer is negative. And 5 times 7. So negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. Cool? This one negative sign, the whole answer is negative. 0 times 2 is 0. The answer is 0. Now, if you put negative 0, it wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but it wouldn't necessarily be right because we know that negative or 0 is neither positive nor negative. All right. Now notice the first thing I'm doing is I'm circling the negative signs. Why? Because the most commonly missed part of this problem is the sign. So we want to do that first before we forget anything. One negative sign, the whole answer is negative. 9 times 8. 9 times 8 is 72. Our answer is negative 72. How many negative signs do we have? We have one negative sign. So the whole thing's negative. And then from left to right, we can multiply here. Or because this is multiplication and multiplication is commutative, what we could do is we could multiply any two numbers together first. This would be the same thing as 6. So negative 7 times 6 is 42. Another way you could have done this is 7 times 2 is 14, and 14 times 3 is, there you go, that's 42. And our answer is going to be negative. We don't want to forget the negative sign. The first thing we should always figure out is negative sign. Now, on your homework, you guys are going to be doing multiple choice homework through quizzes. So what I would do if I were you is figure out the sign first, and automatically you might be able to get rid of maybe 2 wrong answers. If 2 are positive and 2 are negative, you'll be able to figure this out. Let's go ahead and look at this next one. Let's multiply the following, and in this case we have 2 negative signs. 2 negative signs is an even amount, so the whole thing is positive, and 8 times 9 is 72. Our answer is 72. Alright, how many negative signs do we have? We have no negative signs, so it's just a regular multiplication problem. 7 times 5 is 35. The whole answer is positive, and that makes sense. Alright, you guys ready to finish this lesson? Because there's only one more slide to go. Alright, let's multiply the following. Alright, actually, you know what? I'm going to add one more slide just for a little bit of extra practice for us. So 2 more slides to go, and then we'll be done with this lesson. Alright, how many negative signs do we have? We have 2. The whole thing has an even amount, so the whole thing's positive. 6 times 1 is 6. Our answer is 6. 2 negative signs. The whole thing's positive. 9 times 8, 72. We have 2 negative signs. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. A question you might get, or I might get, is do you have to put the plus sign? No, you do not need to put the plus sign. That's just a helpful reminder for me that the answer is positive, and I already, in fact, checked the signs. 2 negative signs. We have a positive answer. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 1 is going to be 15. Cool? Easy so far? Awesome. Okay, here we go. Last slide for us to practice. A few more problems, 4 more problems for us to practice. And we're going to still follow the same rules. We still want to make sure that we're counting, first step, counting how do we have an even amount or odd amount of negative signs. Negative signs. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this first one. 2 times negative 7. We have 1 negative sign, so the whole thing will be negative. And 2 times 7 is 14. Answer, negative 14. Next one, we have 2 negative signs. That's an even amount, so the whole answer is positive. And 10 times 7 is 70. So our answer is positive 70. Our next example, we have 1 negative sign, so the whole thing is going to be negative. So first thing I do is put a negative sign. Then I can go ahead and multiply. 2 times 4 is the same thing as 8. And 8 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. Don't forget the negative sign. Negative 40 is our correct answer. Last one for us to do. We have 1, 2, 3 negative signs. That's an odd amount. So the whole thing is negative. And then we have 3 times 3 is 9. Times another 3 is going to be negative 27. Alright, that's it. Don't forget your rule. This is one really basic rule for us to kind of remember. The first thing we do is we count the negative signs. Negative signs. And step number 2 is you multiply the numbers. Alright, cool. Enjoy your homework. I hope it's really easy for you guys. If you have any questions, come back and see me during office hours. Peace.